morning sun filtered through our bedroom curtains as I watched Amanda sleep peacefully beside me. 6 years of marriage, and she still had no idea who I really was. Not about my 3 tours as a Marine sniper in Afghanistan, not about my current CIA operations. I thought our love was enough to keep my secrets buried. Then, last night happened. Her midnight call shattered everything I believed about us. Before I tell you what I heard and what I did next, let me know where you are watching from and hit that subscribe button for more shocking real-life stories. I never imagined my life would come to this point. My name is Braeden, and for the past 6 years, I have been living a carefully constructed lie with the woman I married. Not because I wanted to deceive her, but because I believed it was the only way to keep her safe and give us both a chance at normalcy. Before Amanda entered my life, I spent 8 years as a Marine Corps sniper with 3 combat tours in Afghanistan. My skill set was specialized and lethal. I could eliminate targets from over a mile away, disappear into terrain for days without detection, and operate behind enemy lines with surgical precision. My record earned attention from certain government agencies, and after my honorable discharge, the CIA recruited me for covert operations. The transition from military to intelligence work was seamless. My new role involved similar skills, but more complex objectives. Instead of straightforward combat missions, I now dealt in information gathering, asset protection, and occasionally targeted elimination of high-value threats. My cover story was perfect. To the world, and to Amanda, I worked as an IT security consultant for international corporations. The position explained my frequent travel irregular hours and the occasional unexplained bruise or injury. I met Amanda 7 years ago at a coffee shop in downtown Alexandria, Virginia. I was between assignments, enjoying rare downtime, when she spilled her latte across my newspaper. Her embarrassment was genuine, her smile disarming. She was beautiful with chestnut hair and eyes that crinkled when she laughed. A pharmaceutical sales representative with an ambitious streak that matched my own focused intensity. We exchanged numbers, and within a week, I found myself looking forward to our conversations more than my next briefing. Our courtship was a whirlwind. Within 6 months, I knew I wanted to marry her, and by our 1-year anniversary, we exchanged vows in a small ceremony with close friends and my former Marine unit members. We bought a home in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside D.C., close enough for her pharmaceutical sales territory and my alleged corporate office. I made the decision early in our relationship never to tell Amanda about my real career. It was partly for her protection and partly for operational security. The less she knew, the safer she would be. I convinced myself that our love was enough to bridge the gap created by my secrets. For nearly 6 years, that seemed to be true. The first signs that something was wrong appeared about 8 months ago. Amanda had always been organized and communicative about her work schedule, but suddenly, her trips became more frequent and less predictable. She would announce last-minute overnight stays in cities that seemed outside her normal sales territory. Her explanation that her company had expanded her responsibilities made sense, but something in her tone when she called to tell me she would be away another night felt rehearsed. Then I noticed changes in her personal habits. Amanda began working out more intensely, focusing on strength training rather than her usual yoga. She bought new clothes that were subtly different from her typical style, more practical, easier to move in. She changed her perfume and started wearing her hair differently. Small adjustments that might seem like normal evolution in a person, but my training had taught me to notice pattern disruptions. One evening, while Amanda showered, her phone chimed with a text message. I had never been the type to snoop, but the name that flashed on the screen was unfamiliar. The message preview simply read, "Confirmed for tomorrow. Bring the package." My intelligence training immediately flagged this as potentially coded communication, not typical language between sales colleagues. I did not confront her. Instead, I began a casual surveillance operation on my own wife. I noted her schedules, cross-referenced them with her company calendar that we shared on our home computer. I identified at least 7 discrepancies in 3 weeks. Cities she claimed to be in that did not align with her company events. hotels charged to our credit card that were nowhere near her alleged meetings. I installed a simple GPS tracker in her car, disguised as a phone charger. For 3 consecutive business trips, she never went to the locations she claimed. Instead, she drove to a series of private residences and unmarked office buildings in Maryland and Northern Virginia, areas known to house government contractors and foreign diplomatic staff. The lies continued to accumulate. New friends she mentioned, but I never met. Phone calls she would take in another room or outside. Unexplained cash withdrawals from our joint account. A second phone I discovered, hidden in her gym bag. The evidence suggested an affair, but my instincts screamed that something else entirely was happening. I maintained my normal routine, pretending I noticed nothing unusual. I played the role of trusting husband perfectly while documenting every inconsistency. My CIA training served me well, as I compartmentalized my growing suspicions from the affection I still felt when she smiled at me across the dinner table or reached for my hand in the darkness of our bedroom. The deception reached a breaking point 3 months ago, when I attempted a careful, non-accusatory conversation about our relationship. We were having dinner at her favorite restaurant, a small Italian place where we had celebrated our first anniversary. I gently mentioned that we seemed to be drifting apart, that her work schedule had created distance between us. I asked if everything was okay. Her reaction was textbook defensive. First came the denial that anything had changed. Then deflection that my own travel schedule was equally demanding, followed by a tearful confession that she was working on a special project that required additional security measures. She claimed her pharmaceutical company was testing a revolutionary new drug, and she had signed extensive non-disclosure agreements that prevented her from sharing details even with me. The performance was flawless. Her tears seemed genuine, her explanation plausible. She even produced company documents on her phone, showing her expanded territories and responsibilities. For a moment, I almost believed her. Almost. But 20 years in special operations and intelligence work had honed my ability to detect deception. The micro-expressions that flickered across her face, the specific words she chose, the way her eyes moved when recounting certain details. All of it reinforced my suspicion that I was being manipulated by a skilled operative. I maintained the facade of acceptance, apologized for doubting her, and suggested a weekend getaway to reconnect. She agreed enthusiastically, seeming relieved that I had accepted her explanation. We made plans for the following month, when our schedules allegedly aligned. Plans I suspected she never intended to keep. The decisive moment came unexpectedly 2 weeks ago. I was scheduled for an intelligence gathering operation in Eastern Europe that would keep me away for 10 days. Amanda knew about the trip, believing it was a major client installation in Germany. My bags were packed, and I had already kissed her goodbye that morning. Then my secure phone buzzed with a coded message from my handler. Operation scrubbed due to diplomatic complications. Assets returning to home stations. I found myself with 10 unexpected days of freedom and a unique opportunity. I decided not to tell Amanda about the cancellation. Instead, I maintained electronic communications as if I were abroad. I sent text messages during her waking hours, called during scheduled check-ins, and even sent photos I had taken on previous trips to maintain the illusion of my absence. Meanwhile, I established surveillance in our own home. Nothing illegal or invasive, just strategic placement of motion sensors and audio equipment in common areas. I secured a rental apartment with line of sight to our house, and settled in to observe my wife when she believed herself completely unobserved. For the first 2 days, her routine appeared normal. She left for work at her usual time, returned in the evening, called me at the predetermined hours, and watched her favorite shows before bed. On the 3rd day, the pattern changed. She left the house at 4:30 a.m., dressed entirely in black athletic wear. She returned 90 minutes later, showered, and departed again in her business attire. That evening, she hosted 3 women I had never seen before. They spoke quietly, reviewed documents at our dining room table, and departed after 2 hours. On the 5th day of my surveillance, everything changed. Amanda did not go to work. Instead, she spent hours on secure video calls, using a laptop I had never seen before. She moved methodically through our house, examining air vents, light fixtures, and furniture as if checking for surveillance devices. Her movements were precise, professional. Not the actions of a pharmaceutical representative, but the practiced sweep of someone trained in counterintelligence. She left the house at 9 p.m. and did not return until after 2 a.m. When she finally came home, she was not alone. A man accompanied her, tall, with the unmistakable bearing of military or intelligence training. They spoke in hushed tones in our kitchen. My directional microphone captured fragments about final preparations and extraction protocols. They reviewed floor plans that appeared to be of our neighborhood. Then came the words that confirmed all my suspicions. "Tomorrow night it ends," the man said. "Once the package is secured, we eliminate the loose end and extract." Amanda nodded. "No mistakes. He returns in 5 days. Everything must appear as a random home invasion. The idiot trusts me completely." After the man left, Amanda made a call on a secure line. I listened from my observation post as she spoke words that drove an icy spike through my heart. "Baby, this idiot does not suspect a thing. Send your high team in tomorrow. Make it look like a robbery gone wrong." She paused, listening to instructions from the other end. "Yes, I confirmed his flight arrives at 8 p.m. on Friday. The house will be sanitized by then, and I will be establishing my alibi with coworkers. The grief-stricken widow routine is already prepared." In that moment, everything became crystal clear. My wife of 6 years was not having an affair. She was a foreign intelligence operative who had been assigned to me. Our entire relationship had been a cover, a long-term deep surveillance operation. And now that whatever intelligence value I provided was exhausted, I had been scheduled for termination. What she could not possibly know was that she had married exactly the wrong person to assassinate. The irony might have been amusing if my life were not at stake. I spent that night processing the revelation while simultaneously developing my counter-strategy. The emotional impact threatened to overwhelm me at times. 6 years of marriage revealed as an elaborate deception. Every intimate moment, every shared laugh, every whispered plan for our future had been professional theater on her part. Yet I could not afford to indulge in emotional breakdown. I had approximately 24 hours to prepare for a professional hit team, and the advantage of complete surprise was mine. My first step was intelligence gathering. While Amanda slept, I carefully examined her hidden laptop. Her operational security was excellent, but she never expected to face a CIA field operative in her own home. I bypassed her encryption using techniques that would leave no trace and discovered communications with handlers that appeared to be Russian intelligence SVR specifically. The operation had been running for over 7 years, predating our relationship. Amanda herself was a deep cover operative placed years earlier. Her pharmaceutical career established as a perfect cover for international travel and networking with potential intelligence targets. The most shocking discovery was a complete dossier on me, not the real me, but the me she believed me to be. It detailed my fictional background in software development, my fabricated family history, and years of surveillance reports on my movements, contacts, and activities. What it did not contain was any indication that she knew about my military service or CIA affiliation. My cover had held perfectly. She had spent 6 years spying on a completely fictional person. I also found operational details for the coming day. A 10-person team had been activated. 4 would breach the house, 2 would maintain perimeter security, 2 would serve as drivers, and 2 would coordinate communications and possible counter-surveillance. The plan called for my elimination between 2 and 4 a.m., staged as a home invasion robbery gone violent. Amanda would be establishing her alibi at a hotel 30 miles away with colleagues who were unwittingly serving as her cover. By morning, I had formulated my response. I would not run, though. That would have been the simplest solution. Running would mean abandoning my life entirely and living with the knowledge that Amanda and her controllers had won. Additionally, this presented a rare counterintelligence opportunity to potentially roll up an entire SVR operation on U.S. soil. I needed to contact my agency for backup, but had to assume all my communications were compromised. I used a dead drop protocol with my handler, leaving a precisely folded newspaper on a specific bench in a park 4 miles from our home. The signal would activate a meet with my CIA support team, but they would not arrive for hours. I would need to handle the initial assault alone. When Amanda woke, I performed the role of oblivious husband flawlessly. I made her favorite breakfast, kissed her goodbye, and told her I would see her the following evening when my flight supposedly returned. She hugged me tightly, telling me to have a safe trip. The genuine sadness in her eyes was chilling. She was saying goodbye forever while I pretended not to know. After she left, I transformed our home into a carefully crafted tactical environment. I did not want to kill the entry team if possible. Despite their mission, they were intelligence operatives following orders, and dead foreign agents create diplomatic incidents. Instead, I prepared a series of non-lethal countermeasures that would allow me to neutralize and capture the team. I modified our home security system to create blind spots in its coverage that would funnel intruders along specific paths. I prepared flash-bang devices from household chemicals positioned at key entry points. I removed family photos and replaced them with nearly identical versions that concealed small cameras. I prepared sleeping areas that could be secured against ballistic intrusion and established multiple exit routes from every room. The most important preparations were psychological. I created the impression that I was indeed arriving home that night by scheduling a rideshare pickup from the airport. I ordered food delivery for a late dinner. I even called Amanda and left a message saying my flight was on time and asking what she wanted me to pick up from the airport duty-free shop. All actions that would convince her team I was arriving, as expected, completely unaware of their plans. As dusk fell, I identified the first surveillance vehicle taking position 2 blocks from our house. By 9 p.m., I had located all 4 of their observation points. They were good professional, but they were looking for signs of awareness or counter-surveillance from a software engineer, not a CIA operative with combat experience. At 11:30 p.m., I detected the first communications between team members. They were confirming positions and running equipment checks. At midnight, their tactical team arrived in an unmarked van parking 3 streets away. I tracked their approach through the neighborhood using motion sensors I had placed earlier. They moved with professional discipline, avoiding security cameras and staying in shadows. By 1 a.m., they had established a complete perimeter around my property and were preparing for entry. I sent the predetermined signal to my CIA backup team, who confirmed they were 30 minutes out. I would need to manage the situation alone until then. At precisely 1:17 a.m., they cut power to the neighborhood. Seconds later, they severed the phone lines and activated a localized cellular jammer, standard procedure for a professional hit. They had no way of knowing I had prepared for exactly these actions with battery backups and a hardened communication line to my approaching team. The first operative breached the back door at 1:22 a.m. I allowed him to enter, tracking his movement through the kitchen using thermal imaging. A second operative entered through a first-floor bathroom window, while 2 more approached the front door. Their movement patterns confirmed my analysis. These were highly trained professionals executing a well-rehearsed plan. What happened next would have appeared chaotic to an observer, but was the result of careful planning. The first operative triggered a pressure plate I had installed, releasing a cloud of aerosolized sedative. He collapsed before he could radio a warning. The second encountered a tripwire that activated a stunning flash of light and disorienting sound, allowing me to neutralize him with a precision strike to the brachial plexus, unconscious but unharmed. The 2 operatives at the front door became aware something was wrong when their teammates failed to report in. They accelerated their entry plan, breaching the door with a battering ram. They entered a hallway I had prepared with specialized lighting that destroyed their night vision capabilities. Disoriented and separated, they were simple to subdue, using techniques I had perfected in close quarters combat training. Within 6 minutes of the first breach, all 4 entry team members were secured with their own restraints. The perimeter team, sensing something had gone wrong, attempted to approach the house, but retreated when they identified my CIA backup team establishing positions around the neighborhood. I secured one of the operatives' communication devices and contacted the mission controller directly. The voice that answered belonged to Amanda. Team status report, she demanded. Hello, Amanda, I replied calmly. Or whatever your real name is. I think we need to talk about our marriage. The silence on the other end lasted 5 seconds. When she spoke again, her voice had transformed. Gone was the warm woman I had lived with for 6 years. In her place was a cold, calculating operative. Well, she said finally, this is unexpected. It seems I underestimated my husband. Most people do, I answered. Your team has been neutralized, and CIA counterintelligence units are currently rolling up your support elements. This operation is over. You are CIA. The genuine surprise in her voice was almost satisfying. Turns out, we have more in common than you thought. Though I never faked loving you, the next 48 hours passed in a blur of debriefings, interrogations, and intelligence processing. The SVR team was taken into custody, and a major counterintelligence operation launched to identify the full scope of their activities. Amanda attempted to escape during the initial containment, but was apprehended at a predetermined extraction point. The woman I had shared my bed with for 6 years was revealed to be Elena Petrova, a deep-cover SVR operative placed in America over a decade earlier. During my debriefing with CIA leadership, the full picture emerged. The SVR had identified me as a potential intelligence target 7 years ago, not because they knew I was CIA, but because my cover company had contracts with Defense Department clients. Amanda Yelena was assigned to develop a relationship with me to gain proximity to potential intelligence. When we married, her handlers saw an opportunity for long-term information gathering. The termination order came when they concluded I no longer had access to valuable intelligence, and she was needed for another assignment. The most painful revelation came during her interrogation. I watched through one-way glass as she calmly explained that every moment of our relationship had been manufactured. Our meeting at the coffee shop, her deliberate pursuit of me, every intimate moment, calculated to deepen my trust and attachment. When asked if she had ever developed genuine feelings during our 6-year marriage, she smiled coldly and said, "It was a job, an assignment, nothing more." After the operational aspects were resolved, I returned to our house alone. The place that had been our home for 5 years felt like a movie set now, every object a prop in an elaborate performance. I walked through the rooms seeing everything differently. The photos of our vacations carefully staged for her intelligence reports. The gifts she had given me, selected to reinforce my fictional identity, even her side of the closet, filled with carefully chosen clothing that constructed the character of Amanda-devoted wife. In the process of clearing the house, I discovered over 30 surveillance devices that she had hidden throughout our home over the years. Memory cards revealed thousands of hours of recordings of my most private moments. My entire marriage had been monitored, analyzed, and reported to her handlers. The agency offered me a new identity, a complete restart. They also presented an alternative, a promotion to a higher-level operational group, specializing in counterintelligence against the exact type of operation I had just experienced personally. After consideration, I chose the latter. My unique experience made me valuable in identifying other potential deep-cover operatives. 3 months have passed since that night. The house has been sold, the possessions divided or discarded. Amanda Yelena remains in federal custody, occasionally providing information in exchange for considerations in her inevitable espionage trial. I have moved to a new city, established a new cover, and begun the process of rebuilding a life based on truth rather than deception. The greatest irony of this experience is that 2 professional liars lived together for 6 years, each concealing their true identity from the other. I had kept my secrets to protect her, believing our love was real, despite my deceptions. She had maintained her cover as part of a long-term intelligence operation, every moment of affection, a tactical decision. I sometimes wonder if there were moments of genuine connection between us, instances where the real people beneath our covers actually touched. Late nights when defenses were down, quiet mornings before the day's performance began, but those thoughts lead nowhere productive. The most important lesson I have taken from this experience is about the nature of trust and authenticity. For years, I justified my deceptions as necessary sacrifices for security and duty. Now I understand that relationships built on fundamental lies cannot sustain no matter how convincing the performance. In my new life, I have made one significant change. While I maintain my cover for professional purposes, I have created space for genuine connections with a small circle of people who know the real me. Fellow operatives who understand the double life, the constant vigilance, the toll of perpetual deception. In their company, I can occasionally set down the mask and breathe freely. The capacity for betrayal is profound, as is the human ability to construct elaborate fictions and believe in them completely. I spent 6 years loving a woman who never existed. She spent 6 years pretending to love a man who was equally fictional. Yet beneath those layers of deception, two real people moved through life side by side, never truly seeing each other. I am often asked if I hate her for what she did. The truth is more complicated. I mourn the relationship I thought we had. I respect the professional skill her deception required, and I recognize that in many ways we were mirror images, both serving causes larger than ourselves through elaborate lies. The main difference was that my lies were meant to protect her, while hers were designed to exploit and ultimately eliminate me. If you have ever wondered if you truly know the person closest to you, I can tell you with professional certainty that none of us ever fully knows another. We see reflections, projections, carefully curated versions. The best we can hope for is that the person we love is concealing ordinary human frailties rather than a foreign intelligence affiliation and assassination plans. Have you ever discovered a deception that changed everything you believed about a relationship? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more true stories of betrayal, resilience, and redemption. Share this with someone who appreciates that truth is often more shocking than fiction. Thank you for listening, and remember to trust your instincts. Sometimes they see what your heart cannot.